All right, everybody. Welcome to a new edition of Process and Quality Assurance. Today, we will talk about target costing. And in the last lecture, we already introduced target costing a little bit because in this lecture, we talked about costs and KPI and stuff like that. And I told you that target costing is a very good example of quality technique because it's important to ask for the customer requirements and to ask the market what he wants to pay for a product is really an important aspect of target costing. So what we would do is at first we would try to find out how much is the market willing to pay for our product. And the figure we collect there is called target price. It is not so easy just to ask a customer, what do you want to pay for my product? Because the customer will tend to give you a low price answer because he doesn't want to pay so much for your product. So usually when you ask a customer, then he will also show you price bids or offers from competitors. And often these are also very low. So it's not so easy to find out about the target price. And you need to develop a feeling how you need to adjust the figures which you can get. Also, the target price is dependent on the parameters or the features of your product. And when you have a high variance in a product, then it's quite difficult to find out an average price for a product because the price range can be quite big if you have many different parameters or features on a product. So don't worry here for the little exercise. We will have a target price information for you, but in the practical work life, there it is not so easy to find a target price. What we then do is we have, for example, from management, we have a target for our profit, and this is usually a percentage rate, and this is maybe 40% or 20%. So it depends on the business case, and we subtract the target profit from the target price, and what we get then are the so-called allowable costs for our product. The costs which are allowed by our management and the market. Then we have to check if we are already complying to the allowable costs. And what we do then is we ask our engineering, our development to give us the price calculations. At Bosch, it was called PPC, planned product cost. And then we can compare these costs. Their name is drifting costs to the allowable costs. And what you find out often is that we have higher drifting costs than allowable costs. So a difference in between means also that we have a gap. And this is called target gap. It's basically allowable costs minus drifting costs. And when the drifting costs are bigger than the allowable costs, then we have a negative gap. So maybe we would see later on for a lawnmower, we have 200 euro on our lawnmower as a target gap. But how can we squeeze out the 200 euro from our product? We need to distribute the target of 200 euro on our product. And there are different strategies to distribute it. A very classical one is, I show you in the slide here, we could split our product into modules and into functions, and then we can assign the euro values we need to save to the functions. We could also take the components of our product and assign the 200 euro fragments to all of the components. So if we have 200 euro, then we can put 10% on this function, 40 here, 30 here, and 20 here. Or when we have component-oriented cost splitting, we can put 50% here, 20% here, and so on. And here, the question is how to find out the percentage here. You could there are different ways of finding out. You could, for example, this component is 5 times higher in the component price than this. So we have 10% here and 50. So we could, from a product calculation, we could derive the percentages for our gap to distribute. For the function, what we could do is we could ask our customer how important the function is for the customer. For example, on a lawnmower, I don't know, but I have from a thesis of University of Cincinnati, there was a work about the importance of engineering functions on a lawnmower with biogas. And you see here, energy efficiency is has the highest importance and vibration resistance only 1%. But when we go back here is, you see it's not so easy to put 10% of the 200 euro, 20 euro, for example, on the vibration resistance. So in the end, our engineers have to take the information that we want to cut 20 euro on the vibration resistance, and there you need a lot of engineering excellence to find ideas to adjust the function in that way that we save 20 euro. It's much easier here when we have the component here and we know 10% we need to save here. Then it's 20 euro on this component, and a very easy idea is to call our colleagues from the sales, from the purchasing department, and ask them to renegotiate the price for the module, for example. Or our engineers can use a different material or something like this. So what I want to say is the distribution of our target gap of 200 euro in terms of thinking functions is more difficult because we need to find out about the importance of functions. And then the transition from the function into a real cost saving is not so easy. So what you find out more frequently is a component-oriented cost splitting. All right. This is basically what target costing is about. It's not so difficult. We just have to ask for a target price. We need to know what we want to earn. And then we need to compare these allowable costs to our internal costs. And then when we have a gap, then we need to find out or create ideas to really save the 200 euro on our product. And 2 ways of distributing the target costs were shown in this slide. Okay, let's go back. Here is another very common graphical interpretation of what we had seen here. The target price minus the profits, the allowable costs, comparison to drifting costs, getting a target gap. So the target price we have here, it's the market price. We need to reduce it by the target profit. Then we get our allowable costs, and the allowable costs we will compare to the drifting costs. In this example, the drifting costs are higher. So from here to here, this is the target gap. And the target costs, what we have here, is the drifting costs minus the target gap. But here we just see the target costs as a total. And I told you on the next slides that target costs means that we need to distribute it on components or functions. So a better illustration would be to have here for the target costs a color indication that we have different elements here, and these costs in the elements we have to consider. It's not like we see here. It's of course a sum of costs of the components or function, but our real work is then to work here inside of the function and components. That's the idea behind target costing. I also put on the slide here before, I put terms according to Bosch. I like them because they target profit you can better understand with the gross margin, or target price is competitive market price. So these terms are more illustrative, but nevertheless, I keep the terms here from the books from quality management here in this lecture. All right, so far we have everything together to come now to practical application of the target costing. And we will together do a little bit of target costing for a lawnmower. And the company Imaginary Cyclograss has high-class lawnmowers. The lawnmower market is well understood. And so the forecasts we find on the next slides, you can regard as reliable. We plan the target costs for a new product in 2 years. So we have a product at the moment, and we are planning ahead for the next 2 years. This is important when we think about market price. It's not the market price from today. We need to think about what the market price can be in 2 years. All right, so let's start with that. Here's a little bit of text information, and what is written here. The current generation of products comparable to ours on the market cost at the moment 1,850 euro. There are forecasts that because of new competitors from Asia, the price will drop to 1,700 euro. Then the profit margin, or the target from our company management, is 12%. Then we have two tables. We have an information from quality function deployment about the importance of functions of our lawnmower. And then we have cost information from our development teams. So let's have a look. Here you see for the components of the lawnmower, you see it's called parts weighting. It's the importance of the parts. We have small parts, seats, wheels, engine, battery, cases, blades, grass collection bin, etc. And their indication in terms of importance or parts weighting. Then we have here the current costs of the parts also. So the spare parts here are 50 euro, grass collection bin 25. And in total, we have 1,600 euro cost for the parts, current costs of the parts, already included overhead, production, and material costs. Okay. So a little bit of information. I will, in a few seconds, I will activate this Pingo questionnaire. When you go there, you will have the possibility to enter your results of the calculation there. And then we will, in a few minutes, we have a look what your answers are. And then we look together on the solution. Your task is calculate the allowable costs of the new product, which make it possible to reach the prescribed profit margin. Okay, so switch a little bit back here to the information we have. Think about what you need to calculate to find out the allowable costs. Okay, it's not such a big deal. Please take a few minutes to think. Meanwhile, I will start the Pingo questionnaire. Okay. Okay, the Pingo questionnaire is started. I will share it in a second. Please enter what do you think. Ten people are connected. You need to enter your result from the calculation. What will be the allowable costs? I'm a little curious. We have no answers so far. Anybody of you already entered an answer?
Yeah, I did.
Okay. So the counter here says 1 minute to go.
Can we see the question again? Because I didn't memorize it.
The question is, what are the allowable costs for the new product?
Yeah, but we need to see the data, like the numbers.
Yes. The data is here.
Okay, thank you.
I have a look at Pingo. Okay, we have 4 answers. 2 look quite right. Here we have 30 and 31, which is really interesting. I will show you the solution. Here, here is what the colleagues answered here. And we will now have a look on the solution. There's a remark in the chat I have to check at first. Can we see the numbers again? Okay, this was your remark. Okay, so let's have a look what is in the solution. Basically, when we have a look here on this page, then the idea is we ask the market, and the market will tell us the price it is willing to pay. We don't have to take the 1,850 because it's the price from today, and we have a forecast for the situation in 2 years, so we have to take the 1,700, and then we have to subtract from this the profit margin, which is 12% of 1,700. So when we look here for the target profit is 204, and the allowable costs are 1,700 minus 204. Okay, therefore the result of 1,496 is the right result. Okay, got used to the task a little bit. I would suggest that if you want to have a look for the figures, then also download the PDF from e-learning, because you need to maybe scroll back to the information for the calculation. So when we have the allowable cost, the next question, what are the drifting costs? Okay, just have a look on the table. I will initialize on Pingo the answer possibility, and I keep this open for you, and in a second then you can answer from Pingo. All right. So I just let the counter run for 30 seconds. What is your answer? What are the drifting costs we have for our lawnmower? You can also, oh, we have 3 answers here. Let's have a look. The question was on the slide, what are our drifting costs? So here, what are our drifting costs from our engineering? And then you were asked to take a look here on the tables. Where is the information of our engineering about the cost of the parts? On the left, we just have importance. On the right, we have information for the cost for all parts. In total, we have 1,600. All costs include overhead, production costs, etc. So the right answer is just looking into the table and taking 1,600. Okay. Now a very easy following question is, we now know that we have allowable costs of 1,496 and we have the drifting cost of 1,600. So what is our gap? Do you have an idea? Please, you can also write it in the chat. I think it's a little bit easier than using Pingo. Yes, thank you very much, 104. And so it means 104 euro we have to squeeze out of the components we have here. Okay, this is what we will do in the ongoing slides. And you will see it's not a big deal. Just doing a little bit of calculation, and then you will find out what, together with the importance of the components, we need to do on each component that we, in the end, realize a cost reduction of 104 euro. This is nice, isn't it? Okay, so let's see. Here, the drifting cost from a table and how large is the target gap we already discussed. It's 104 euro. Here is a minus because if you take the formula allowable cost minus drifting costs, then this turns to be a minus. And 104 euro in the exam would be also okay. So don't worry about the sign. It's indicating with that formula that we have a problem, that we have that we need to squeeze it out from our components. Okay, so now things become a little heavier because we now do this distribution and splitting on all of the components, and it means that for all components, we have to find out what the target costs will be in the end. So the total of all the target costs of the various parts will sum up to the total target costs in the end. And when we have a look back here on the slide with the column charts, then we are talking here now about creating the results in this table to express here this column. I tell you how to do this. It would be a very good idea for you now to have the PDF available of this lecture, that you have here this table. And then what you will do at first is you will copy here in this column, you will copy the current cost of the parts. This is information from table 2. The current cost of the parts you just copy into this column. And what you do then is you calculate the percentage of product costs. So you take the 1,600 euro as a basis, then the individual costs, and you divide the individual cost by 1,600 euro times 100%, and you get then the percentage of product cost for this individual part. Okay. As far as I remember, you also have then to copy the importance, the parts weighting from QFD, which is in table 1 also. And then you will see that after the next session, you have this column, you have the percentages calculated, and you have the parts weighting. Okay, so this will be the step for the next work for you. I will distribute you in breakout groups so that you can compare. And then we will talk about the results in a few minutes. All right. So I will put you in breakout groups, and please fill out here the 3 columns. All right. And then I think it's not so difficult. A little bit of calculation. Maybe an idea is also to use Excel to do the calculation quickly. It depends on you. You will find yourself in a few seconds in a breakout room, and then you can decide what's the best way for you. Okay, so we have 5 breakout rooms. Please go ahead. So what you should have in your table are here the columns 1 and 3, and this one here, this column filled with the values for the percentages of the current costs. And what you will do next is we will fill this column. It's not a big deal. It's just we take the allowable costs here and we multiply the allowable costs with the parts weighting in each row. Okay, so I think it's not necessary to send you in the breakout rooms once again. Just take a few seconds and make the few calculations here. Important is that we take the allowable costs because these are our future target, and with the parts weighting or importance, we get an information how much money or how much costs in each component are allowed in the future, respecting the importance of the customer. All right, so please go ahead with the calculations. Okay, I think you should have calculated the fourth column. Here are the results. Here are the target costs of the various parts. And of course, because the basis of the calculation was or were the allowable costs, so all the single costs will sum up to the allowable costs here. Here you see already the last column filled. It's the target cost index. I will in a second explain you how we can calculate this. But before we do so, we should have a look on what we have in this table here. Here in the first column, we see that the small parts and attachment parts have current costs of 50 euro. Here we see that in the future, in 2 years, we are only allowed to have 45 euro. So we need to cut 5 euro here. If we go here down the rows, you see that here we have current costs for the seat of 120 euro, and we are in the future allowed only to have 60 euro. So what you see here, we have really a serious cost cutting. And if we look through the rows, then here for the battery, we see an interesting thing. Here we have at the moment 210 euro, but with respect to the importance of the customer, we could have 314 euro. This should not mean that we increase the internal costs of our battery. This is really would be a crazy thing, but this means that we could put more importance into the battery. So we could think about offering more functionality here in this component. For example, a battery loading indication with display or so on to excite the customer. And then, of course, the battery becomes more expensive, but we can go up to 314 euro, and we can do something what was in the Kano model mentioned as excitement criterion. Okay, so when we have a lower cost here for a component and a higher outlook for the target cost, then these components would be attractive for increasing excitement for the customer. If it's not possible, then you need to leave it like it is. But in total, you need to understand that we need to come after all our optimizations on the product. We need to get a total of all the costs of 1,496. So when we do not achieve the cost cutting here of 5 euro, then we need to find the 5 euro somewhere else. Okay, so this is an obligation. So a little bit of shifting savings or squeezing costs is possible, but this is the figure we have to achieve for our future product that the customer is willing to pay for, and our company earns the money which it is intended to earn as a profit. That's it. This is simply target costing, and now you maybe understand what I mean with distributing the gap onto the different components. Here in this column, we have our target costs we need to achieve on the components. And this is what target costing is all about. All right, then there is this magic column here of target cost index. It is basically the division of this column element by this here. And here you see it's below 1. Here we see it was the situation that we have to cut costs for 5 euro. So it's not such a big amount, so it's a little below 1. You remember the problem with the seat, that we have to cut 60 euro from the 120, and this is resulting in a target cost index of 0.5. So we can interpret the target cost index as a parameter if we need to cut costs, everything is fine. Or when we look here to the battery, it becomes larger than 1. Being larger than 1 with the target cost index is indicating the thing that we can put more functionality into the component to excite the customer. So the target cost index is just, it is not absolutely necessary because we can work here with the costs already also. We will need the target cost index later on in a little diagram, which graphically displays what we have to do for our components also. When we calculate or want to calculate the target cost index, it's like I said before, parts weighting divided by percentage of product costs. And because 45 is a little bit lower than 50, here we get something which is a little lower than 1. And deriving from that, we get here the interpretation of the target cost index. We said if it's below 1, then we need to cut costs. If it's equal to 1, then it's fine. We don't need to do anything in this component. And if it's larger than 1, then here it is written, we should increase value. Put functionality in to excite the customer. This is the answer here for the 2 questions which are mentioned as task 2D. You don't need to answer this on your own. I gave you the answer in my explication also. All right, so I don't know if you have already calculated this column here. I give you a few seconds to copy the value, and then we will go on together with the target cost diagram. So far, if you are bored by the lecture and you just wanted to know what target costing is, then you could leave here. And everything we need is already in this table. We will do a little bit of visualization of the results for the rest of this lecture. Okay? All right. I think there was time to copy the values. There will be a solution also available online in e-learning, which I will upload in a few days, in a few weeks. It is maybe also an idea to have a look here in the video and then to stop it and then copy the value. Okay. We want to draw together now the target cost control diagram. In the lecture before we had this COVID illness, I said we do a little bit of value table to draw the target cost control diagram. And we will save the time here. Here are the tables for the diagram. Basically, here are 2 formulas. And in these formulas, you have a parameter Q here, which is mentioned here. This table is for Q equals to 5. And this table is for Q equals to 10. And then you calculate the Y's with the formula here, Y1 and Y2. And you insert the X values and the Q corresponding to the table. For example, Q equals to 5, X1 is 0, and then you do the calculation. In the end, you would get values that look like this. And the question is, what are these values standing for? And I mentioned already that we draw a target cost control diagram. And when you draw the diagram on your own, then when you take the values from this table, then here the crosses are standing for the values from the table. And here the red crosses stand for the table with Q equals to 10. And here the values stand for Q equals to 5. So you draw a green curve with it if you connect the crosses with each other. And here also the red curve. And what you see here is a mirroring line. So with a little bit of creativity, you can copy the green line, which is similarly looking like the first green line, and you can draw this line. And for the red, you can also draw this curve. The question is, what is this? Somehow this diagram should visualize the results from the target costing table we have so far. And we put here the percentage of the product cost we have here on this axis, and we have the parts weighting on this axis here. And what we could now do is we go in our table and we take, for example, the small parts and attachments. I have to write it down because otherwise I forget while I am scrolling. So we have 3.13% for percentage product costs, and parts weighting 3%. Okay, so small parts. So we can go now to the diagram, and the parts weighting for our small parts is 3%. So it's about here. And then the percentage of product cost was 3.13. So it's maybe here. So the cross for our small parts would be here. So the question is, once again, what are the green and the red curves for? The curves give us a tolerance for our target cost work. So we can also say that when we have only these slight differences here for the small parts, which is from the target cost index, we saw it's almost 1, which is almost okay. Then we can also derive this here from the diagram when here is our cross. And so this line here is the line for indicating that the target cost index is 1. It's when the percentage of the product cost is 5 and the parts weighting is 5, then our target cost index is 1. So this would be the perfect line. In a perfect world, all components would be located here. But as you had seen on the slide before, there are small deviations which are maybe also okay, and therefore then it's good to have a little tolerance corridor. And the green curves, they define the area in which it is okay to have our components in. Then we have here also a red curve and a second red curve, which show us a larger corridor for our cost work. And what does it mean? When we have a component, for example, here, then in terms or in case of the red curves, it would also be okay. We are in the area between the red curves, but you see you are a little bit more away from the perfect state here of the curve. And so this means we have more tolerance if we would respect the red curve. And the parameter Q here is indicating how narrow the corridor is. And therefore, it has been said in the books that the parameter Q should be chosen in real life to the degree of competition we have in a market. When we have a very high competition between all players and we have a high effort on cutting costs and so on, then we should choose a narrow corridor. which is closer to the perfect condition here of this blue line. In other cases, we can make the corridor wider. Okay, so this is the target cost diagram. And what you can do is, I prepared this diagram on Miro, and you can find online in e-learning, you find the link to the Miro board, and then you can take the values from the table and you can make crosses into the Miro board. Okay, I show you where the link is online. Important is that you are group B. So when you are logged into e-learning, just a second. Here you see the two links. You would click here on group B. And then here is the Miro board. And what you can do then is take the table with the target cost information, like we had done before for the small parts. And then you can just take here a line, and then for 3 something like this, and you can add a table text field small parts. Okay, that's it. That's our task for the next minutes. So I will just leave the table open with the values, and then you can enter the components here in the diagram. Here are the values. So open the browser and then enter all the components we have. So thank you very much for contributing here in this little drawing exercise. You saw it's not a big deal. It's just showing a little bit better where we have our components in the diagram. You maybe remember that the seat had an incredible cost problem. So what you can see, we said in between here, the corridor, everything is okay. It's the band of tolerance, which is okay for us. The seat has a cost problem, so you can say the upper area outside of this green curve here, this region here, oh damn it, I hope you can see my arrow. This area is the area of too expensive. The line here, the straight line in the middle, is the perfect line, and here the line under the green curve or the red curve, if this is our corridor, is the area where the battery is, where we could put functionality in to do something for Kano excitement criterions. When I go back to the PowerPoint presentation, then the diagram would perfectly look like that. It's almost what you have drawn. here we have the indication of the area of too expensive and too simple, what I already explained to you. So this is it. This is all I can tell you about target costing. And as I mentioned before, here another way of visualizing the results from the target costing. But as I mentioned before, when we look back here on the table, then having the 4th columns here, it is sufficient to have them. If we calculate the target cost index, we also don't need the diagram, because if we remember that we have below 1, we have a cost cutting problem. Above 1, we have a functionality increase problem. Then we can also work with the 5th column. I have never seen the target cost diagram in my practical work life. Nevertheless, I have to say that the first 4 columns here, the dark blue columns, we practiced every year twice on each product. So this method of target costing is really a popular method out there. And when you are in the interface of customer development production, then you will get in touch with target costing without doubt. Okay, thank you very much for your attendance. On the following slides, there are some additional questions which I already answered. You will get, of course, for these questions, the solution in a few days or weeks. Okay, so thank you very much for attending here, and then see you next week in quality management once again. Goodbye, have a nice week.
Thank you,
Thank you, sir.
Professor.